So I have the privilege of having with me Anirudh. He's the president and CEO of Cadence. How many of you know what Cadence does, right? Okay. So let's start with what does Cadence do? Because a lot of people don't know. You guys help design probably most of the world's chips that we use in everything, right? So just give us a 30-second overview of what does the company do for people who don't know you.
So in terms of what Cadence does, basically we are primarily a software company. We make software to design chips and electronic systems. So I mean, these things are pretty complicated. Actually, a lot of my kids didn't even know that the phone has chips in them. Now they do, right? Because
Not the eating ones, right?
yeah, now because there's a lot of talk of semiconductor last few years. So these things are whatever. Typically, let's say 1 inch by 1 inch will have 100 billion transistors. So they are mostly designed by software, mathematical software. They're not designed by hand or anything. So we make that software, and what we like to say is almost any chip in the world is designed by some form of Cadence software. So
That's
the
great.
yeah.
That's great. So you've been around like me
Yeah.
in many of the technology revolutions from PCs, internet, mobile, cloud, and now the AI era. What excites you about this AI era and how is it different than the prior eras you and I have been through?
Well, of course, it's a lot more pervasive. I mean, that's one thing about AI. I mean, this is obvious now, but it affects lot of the all the applications and the full stack. So in that way, I think it's much more comprehensive or much more pervasive than internet or PCs or the other mobile eras. And then the other exciting thing for us is that it has a deep impact on, you know, semi and systems. So it's a whole, renaissance for semis and systems, which will kind of continue for the foreseeable future. So I think those two things are probably a big thing. Yeah.
And I started talking about this renaissance of silicon a decade back, but now I think I've even heard you say we're in the golden era of silicon and hardware. Tell us more. What do you mean by that? Why are we in the golden era? I thought it was in the PC era. You think with AI, everything changes, whether it's on the data center, whether it's at the edge, more engineers are coming in, or there was a saying, right, software has eaten the world. I think it did, but now hardware is going to eat it.
Yeah, I'm not into this eating one another. I don't know how that is. Because we are, by the way, we are a software company by nature. I think I mean, this is obvious now. It's a full stack, right? It's hardware plus software, and and both are important. I mean, and what I talk about, I can tell you more later, is what we talk about the three-layer cake. And people say, like, why do you talk about cake? Because is this like a Cadence bakery or something? But the cake is the hardware is the bottom layer, which was always there, but it was very specialized. Hardware for the longest time was primarily driven by x86, like Intel. But now there is a lot more richness to that hardware, right? Whether it's GPUs or FPGAs or custom silicon or ARM. So the hardware became, and it's very important to optimize, of course, your software on that hardware. So that's the bottom layer of the cake. And that is going to go through more transformations. The middle layer is what I would call like ground truth, based on physics or chemistry or biology, the actual, operation of things, which some people forgot now, okay? And then the top layer is more data-driven or AI, whether it is agentic AI or old AI or new AI. So I think all these three, and the reason I call it a cake, people say, why do you call it a cake? You could call it a stack. I mean, you could call it a stack. The reason I call it a cake is like, unless you're a little kid, when you eat a cake, you eat all three layers together. So I think these three have a big interplay with each other. The AI, the ground truth, and the hardware that it runs on. Now, if people who graduated last few years, and somebody's talking about my PhD, that was a long time ago, by the way. But people who graduated recently, they think, oh, all I need to know is data and AI, and I will create any model. Okay, some of it is true, but it's not completely true. And people who graduated like 30, 40 years ago, they think, oh, AI is a fad. All you need is like ground truth, how transistors work or molecules or physics. But the reality is you need both, right? There is no need to take sides on this. You need a data-driven approach and a more fundamental approach. But both of them need to run on specialized hardware.
Got it.
And then, there are multiple phases of this verticalization that will happen over time. Yeah.
So shifting gears, we'll come back to silicon, the AI era. You've been pretty bullish on what's happening in the bio, the life sciences world.
Yeah.
So what are the parallels that you have seen from designing chips to designing other things in life sciences, right? You may not have products, but where do you see that industry going?
Right. Yeah, before I come to that, the reason is we also have a life sciences effort. So the question is, why is Cadence into? So the main thing, what we do best, what Cadence is best at, of course we make software to design chips and systems, but the software is basically mathematical software. It's not your regular like OS kind of software. So we have all kinds of algorithms, but it is CS plus math together, okay? And that is what we are good at. And of course, it's applied to silicon because silicon had this massive exponential for the last 40, 50 years. But it could be applied to any other kind of problem. And so the question is, what are the other good problems? Okay. So in terms of AI evolution, at least in my opinion, of course, this is a big topic, how AI is going to evolve and how AI will be monetized. So right now, the biggest monetization is in infrastructure. Right? I mean, whether you call, of course, GPUs infrastructure, I think the models and cloud is also infrastructure. So the biggest monetization right now is in infrastructure, which I think hopefully will continue for a few more years. But then the question is, what are the other phases of monetization, and where does life sciences, things like that, come into that? So I've said for a while that I believe there are 3 phases of monetization. And also the real monetization always happens in a new market rather than an existing market.
Yep, the blue ocean.
And we can talk about it like history of automation in EDA over the last 30 years. We have improved design process by already 2 or 3 orders of magnitude, but the monetization always happens in a new area. So the first or vertical slice of the cake, the first one I believe is infrastructure. The second one, I believe in the next 3 to 5 years, maybe is physical AI. Okay, so that's car, drones, and robots, and a lot of them are new. Okay, and that can be multi-trillion-dollar. And we are making a lot of. Even I announced 2 days ago, we bought a company from Hexagon.
Yep.
Which is doing robotics and other things. So the second big monetization will be physical AI. And then the third big monetization, I believe, is sciences AI. Okay, and sciences could be all kinds of things like physical sciences, material sciences, but the biggest one has to be life sciences.
Got it.
So then
Great.
CS and math has to be applied to biology. So far, we have only applied it to physics and some chemistry. So that's why we entered that. Now, I think it is still, some people say it's happening now. I think it's still a little early. I made this acquisition 2 years ago. We are working with, I think, 19 of the top 20 pharma companies. But still, I think AI is a little early in life sciences. But in 5 to 10 years can be big. So we don't want to be too late or too early, but I think this is the right time to enter that space because there's lots that can be done there, right? And so the cake will apply there too. So you need the middle layer, which is actually how the molecules work. And then you add AI and then add compute to that. So I think I'm very optimistic about it. But of course, we are a public company. So in terms of financial impact, it may be a few years down the road. But in terms of research and R&D, we can do it now. Yeah.
Absolutely, right? Because there's a lot of unsolved problems around human health, planetary health, where the intersection of engineering and biology are the ones which are going to solve it. Some people call it computational biology. How do you use CS? How do you use Eng? And then you bring the biology stuff. And whenever there is this intersection of multiple technologies in a new market, just wonders get created. And I think kudos to you guys to be thinking ahead because you can make the lives of everybody, humans, better using that, right? So let's switch gears to your management and leadership style. Like you said, you did a PhD. a long time back. Then you went into eng management, grew through the ladders, became a president, and now president and CEO. Any leadership lessons along the way, right? Like what should one be doing? A lot of the people here come from a technical background who all probably one day want to start a company or be CEO of a big company. So
Yeah,
any
yeah.
lessons or rules of the road?
Yeah, I thought I could be CEO of IBM when I joined, So, and I
It's
don't think,
okay, you're at a better company.
yeah, yeah. And I don't think people are any different. People graduating now, they all want to do big. I think I'm not good at giving these kind of life lessons, but uh, the main thing is, I never had some like roadmap that I wanted to follow, like I will do X and Y. Okay. Because I think first of all, each path is different. And there's no need to copy anybody else's path. And there are multiple paths to success. The only thing I would say is you have to do something real. You have to do something meaningful because people are smart around you, whether it's your customers or investors or colleagues. So just hand waving through, sooner or later it'll catch up. So it's better to do something fundamental, some contributions, and then if you do something fundamental, you will be rewarded for it. So I never try to kind of game the system. Just do real work, and you will get rewarded for it. Yeah.
Got it. No, that's very helpful.
Yeah.
And a lot of time people says, I want to follow X, I want to follow Y. What about the role of mentors, right? Like I know you mentor others. Have you had good mentors who have helped you? Because being a CEO, it's a lonely job, right? I do it too. And just the role of mentors in life who can spot you early on in each phase and act as a sounding board, right? Like what's your view on mentorship?
Yeah, I think all that is useful, honestly, but I think it should be done through work. A lot of people, and of course, we have all kinds of mentorship programs in Cadence, and actually, one person came to me and said, "Oh, I did this, I did this mentorship course, I did this, I did that. Now, what is it needed to get promoted?" So I think my feeling is some people overdo this kind of soft stuff. And I said, okay, do real work. That's the best way to get.
There's no substitute to it.
I don't believe it. So in my mind, mentorship is useful in context of doing real work. See, if you're doing real work, then you make connections and, people will help you. But if you're just doing all these things to check the box, I think it's counterproductive. So I have a slightly different view of
It is
these
good.
things.
Different views are good.
Yeah, what people should do real work. In that context, of course, you make networks, you make friends, you make mentorship. But I think some people get a little carried away with this kind of thing, like I will do X, Y, and Z, and I will have so much outreach, and now I should get promoted. So
Yeah, you have to think long run. Everything can't be transactional and
So I have a
monetary.
lot of mentors, but I never, it was through like work I was doing, and those relationships are more real and more long lasting rather than you reached out to somebody at a conference. Okay, we should do that too, and then have coffee or dinner or whatever, and then nothing came out of it. But because people can see through what is genuine and what is not genuine, it's like applying to universities. People make up this resume, but are you really that person or not? So I think in life, that's true. You do real work. In that, you make partnership, friendships, and you go from there. That's what I believe. So, yeah.
How long have you been at Cadence?
Now I've been here like almost 12 years. Yeah.
12 years.
It was $10 when I joined, though.
I'm going there.
Yeah, yeah.
And it's like where 350 or
Something like that. Yeah.
so that means, right, like I'm looking bad as a VC. We talk about home runs of like 10, 20, 50x returns. Here, you guys are sitting on a 35 bagger. So
Still a long ways to go, though.
I know.
Yeah.
I know, right? Like it's not done. That's why I'm not done either. So there, right? Like, what did you guys do? Was it like product obsession, customer obsession? The market got there because it's fundamental, right? Even the biggest companies that we talk about today haven't had this kind of growth. NVIDIA has had. So what are the learnings, right? Was it customer obsession, product obsession, innovation, people? How did it happen?
There are multiple things that go into that. In terms of culture and all, I'll always talk about team, technology, and customers. In that order, by the way. Because everybody says they are customer first. Of course, you should be customer first. Who doesn't want to be customer first?
But if you don't have the team,
But
where
if
will
you
you
don't
go?
have the team, and we work with, let's say, the top 50 companies in the world right now, all the Mac 7s, all the big. Uh, so those companies can work with anybody they want. They will not work with you unless you have a good product. So without technology, there is,
So team, technology, and customer obsession.
and then customer obsession, and also particularly with what we would call like win with the winners, the game-changing customers. There's certain customers which you can see are driving the future, and you can see them now, right? You mentioned NVIDIA or the Mac 7s or Tesla or all these big hyperscalers, Google right here. So it's very important to align with the market-shaping customers.
Got it.
So in that order, though, right? What we had to do was make the team a lot more, R&D centric, because we make product. We are engineers product that make products for other engineers. So R&D has to be the strongest, okay? And then, of course, other parts are critical too, but R&D has to be good. And then technology has to be good. And then the right customers. And then I think also, if you look at our track record, and even last 7, 8 years, the financial performance has to be there. Okay, a lot of people forget that we're in the business of making money. And
Real money.
And real money. Okay, we don't count like whatever active users, this, that, whatever. It may be a good thing. What we count is EPS growth. Okay, we count revenue, margin, EPS growth. So if you look at it, our EPS growth last 7, 10 years is like 23% per year. So that's what market will reward you. Of course, we need to have revenue growth, but so right now, for example, last 3 years, our revenue growth is about 15% a year, roughly, 15, 16. And our operating margin this year is about 44%. So if you add them up, this is what they call rule of 40. If you add them up and you are above 40, that is considered best in class. So we are in the high 50s. And it has been the case.
Like top decile.
Yeah. So team, technology, and customers, and real financial performance. And of course, it helps to be in a critical industry. So I think all these factors are important. There's no one thing, but I think all these, and some people forget, one thing or the other thing, but it's important to optimize multiple variables in this. Yeah.
Since we are in an AI world, right? Like, how is Cadence using AI internally in its product and for its customers?
Yes.
Because a lot of your customers are AI customers, but you need to innovate too, whether it's in the design, building of the software. How are you thinking about it as a CEO of one of the leading tech companies?
Yeah, it's a big topic. So there are multiple parts of it. So what we call is design for AI and AI for design. Okay, so one thing, like I said, the biggest monetization in AI is infrastructure right now, followed by what I believe is physical AI. I mean, not that there won't be others. I'm talking about like $1 trillion things. Okay, so one good thing because one issue in Wall Street right now is, and maybe in other, is like, is AI going to affect software companies in a negative way? This is the prevailing question, right? Does it reduce your number of seats, or what does it do to? So now the reason I think it's different for Cadence, first of all, the AI monetization, the first thing that, like if you are a regular software company, I don't know, pick something, I don't know, tax preparation or lawyers or something, the workload may be constant or only going up slightly, okay? But in case of chip design, the workload is going up exponentially. So because even now, if you look at Blackwell, it's 100 billion, it's 200 billion, 100 billion of 2 dies in one package. And that's going to go to like 1 trillion or more by 2030. Because the chips get bigger, because of node advances, you can put more chips in a package. So it will go up by 10x in the next 5 to 7 years. And then you add the software and the complexity. So chip design anyway will become 30, 40x harder in the next 5, 7 years. So even if AI delivers, which I believe it can deliver 10x productivity improvement, you need that to keep up. And this is what's the history of chip design. Because it's exponential, you need to be more and more productive. And AI is a fabulous technology to be the next level of productivity. So that's very different from, you know, software for lawyers or tax or something like that.
Yeah, yeah. What about business models, right? How are they going to change from they were perpetual, subscription, at least outside of your industry? There's a lot of talk about consumption-based business models like there is on the cloud. I pay for what I do, it's pay per drink. Does it happen in this industry or it'll still stick? Because a lot of those other ones have a lot of pressure. You charge per email sent, it's not per seat. How are you seeing the consumption business model?
So by the way, you know, this SaaS is or whatever these models in the last 5 years. So one, people don't realize that in Cadence and our, you know, EDA, we have done these forever. You know, our business model transition was 2008 when we went to a ratable business model, okay? So that's what, 17 years. And we have all kinds of business model with, because our customer concentration is there with these 50 or 70 biggest companies. So there are all kind of business model. For example, one business model we have is, we just call it a card, okay? So it's a combination of subscription and consumption.
Got it.
So let's say we do a contract, to keep it easy, like 12 million a year for 3 years. Because the customer also, see the problem with some of the consumption model is, customer also wants certainty.
Correct.
And this is what happened with cloud. Actually, I got much better deals with cloud guys, providers, when I did a longer term deal.
Yeah, yeah.
It's not all, you know.
I agree.
So what our customers want is, let's say you do 12 million a year, 36 million. This, I'll give you example. A lot of our big contracts could be like that. So that's 36 million a commitment to Cadence, which is good. And they assume that they will spend 1 million a month. So that's 36 million. But we give them flexibility that if they want to spend 1.5 million, they can do that in that card. So instead of the card running for, you know, 36 months, it runs for much shorter, like 2 years.
Got it.
And then we renew. So we have a combination of, but there's all kinds of different combination we have. The real thing I believe in terms of business model is the value being created. I think a lot of people get with AI, they get confused use model with value. Okay, people tell me there are 200 use models. I say, oh, how many are people willing to pay for?
Got it.
So the question is, do you creating value for the customer? And especially for us, if you're dealing with the top 50, 70 customers, if you deliver value for them, they will pay you. And we have all kinds of mechanism to realize that. So the key thing is how much we are improving their processes or their chip design time or systems and all.
Got it. So coming back to AI, right? Like any advice for people who are engineers, entrepreneurs, you said like you guys are using it as an amazing tech company, 100 billion in market cap. How should people in companies be endorsing this? Because you can fight it and become a dinosaur. Or with all these AI tools, copilots, cursors, EDA companies will have it. What's your advice to people who are probably users of your product, users of other tech products? What should they be doing, right? Because we had Microsoft Word, PowerPoint, EDA in the 90s, and some people still wrote custom stuff. So what's your advice to people with this new wave?
Well, I mean, that's a big question. I think, like I said before, I mean, I believe that those 3 layers are critical. And that will be there in all industries. So just be careful that you're not only doing one layer of that. Because the hardware will have, you know, this is somewhat obvious now, but the hardware will have a big impact. And innovations in hardware could change things. Just like robotics, you know, the hardware, the silicon will be different. It's not going to be a GPU may train it, but it will run on a very different hardware. The AI model will be different. You know, it's a word model than a language model. So I'm a little worried there is too much obsession on LLMs, which may not last the test of time. It's a particular thing that was good for. So the AI also will disrupt quite a bit. So it's not as banking on one particular AI technology. And then the most important thing I see people right now forget is they forget the middle layer.
It's critical.
It's super critical. That's where the stickiness, that's where so any real application, whether it's biology or AlphaFold, whatever, without knowing the middle layer, it's almost impossible to deliver high value. because AI is a generic, data fitting, whatever you want to call it. You can call it intelligence in one extreme. You can call it data fitting in. If you talk to mathematicians, they will call it fitting. If you talk to marketing people, they'll call it intelligence. Okay, so the AI has a lot of value, but it has to be combined with the middle layer, which is what application here. If you allow it to robots or in self-driving car, there is still a lot of control theory that goes with the AI. So I think the main thing is to do something, of course, fundamental, whatever the application is. Now, we like to do it in engineering, science and engineering, in R&D, but it could be applications in all kinds of areas, right? Whether it's G&A or sales or marketing or other. But I think all three layers will be critical. Yeah.
One thing AI can't do? What's one thing you think AI won't be able to do?
See, the problem with AI, one thing with AI is nobody knows what AI stands for. See, it's artificial intelligence. The best thing AI did is have a very broad definition of it. So now you cannot say, even CMU, my alma mater now, computer science became school of AI. So if CS is AI, then AI can do everything, right? So I think that is AI has become such a big term that of course it can do anything, yeah.
What about parenting? It can do parenting too?
I hope so, it can help, No, it can help in a lot of things. It is fundamental and it will be transformational. I just think that it has to be combined. The real impact will be combining it with a domain-specific thing. Because the horizontal parts of AI will get commoditized. The models and all that over time will, of course, it's like having a V6. One V6 maybe slightly better than the other V6, but the verticalization of it will be the value. This way.
Amazing. We got done at 002.
Oh, okay.
Please join me in thanking Anirudh. Thank you very much.
Thanks.